Friday the 13th, a day shrouded in superstition and mystery. Supposedly the unluckiest day of the year. Many watch their step, check the road twice, and in general, keep out of trouble on this unluckiest of days. A superstition that is so widespread, hotels often admit a 13th floor, jumping from 12 to 14, and aeroplanes doing the same in the rows of their seats. But why is this? Why is Friday the 13th so unlucky, and say Wednesday the 13th not? What is it about the combination of the day and number which unlocks so much bad luck? In this video, we will attempt to unearth the truth, to find out whether the superstition is based on hearsay and rumour, or if there is something evil at hand. Throughout history and mythology, humans have placed significance on numbers in both positive and negative ways. The number 1, for instance, holds special significance for some, representing the unified principle of God. According to the Pythagoreans, 3 is male, 4 is female, and 10 the most perfect number of all. Within Christian theology, the number 3 represents harmony and wholeness, and more famously, the number 666 represents the number of the beast. So while attaching significance to numbers that go beyond their mathematical principles is not uncommon, it still begs the question where these meanings derive. This is also the case with the number 13. By diving into the subject, one can see several potential origins for the number 13 being attached to bad luck. Some attribute the origins of this superstition to the ancient Babylonian code of Hammurabi, one of the world's oldest legal documents, which may or may not have superstitiously omitted a 13th rule from its list. Whilst others claim that the ancient Sumerians, who believed the number 12 to be a perfect number, considered the one that followed decidedly non-perfect. And at the Last Supper of Christ, Judas, who betrayed Jesus, is thought to have been the 13th guest to take his seat. So here we have several possible reasons for the number 13 being unlucky. This perhaps answers the question why one rarely sees the 13th floor in a hotel, or a 13th row on an aeroplane. It doesn't quite explain why the 13th day of every month in our calendars is not viewed as unlucky though, just the Friday. For centuries, in Britain at least, Friday has been considered the unluckiest day of the week. In Geoffrey Chaucer's 14th century classic, The Canterbury Tales, he says, "And on a Friday fell all this mischance." Additionally, Friday was once known as the hangman's day, because it was usually when people who had been condemned to death would be hanged. In stark contrast, Good Friday, being the day within the Christian calendar in which Jesus was crucified, is notable as being distinctly good, despite being on a Friday. However, its religious significance is undoubtedly the element which transcends the day from being unlucky to lucky. If you are born on Good Friday, you are thought to be lucky, while sailors, who are notoriously superstitious, would sometimes begin a long voyage on Good Friday because of its holy connections. Interestingly, in Italian popular culture, Friday the 17th, and not the 13th, is considered a bad luck day. The origin of this belief could be traced to the writing of the number 17 in Roman numerals, XVII. By shuffling the digits of the number, one can get the Latin vigi, I have lived, implying death may be near, an omen of bad luck. with Friday the 13th being a lucky day in Italy, with the bad luck associated with it being deemed an Americanization, showing a disparity between bad luck being attributed to the number of the day. So Friday the 13th may be deemed lucky in Italy, but what about other countries? One of the most popular theories links Friday the 13th with the fall of the monastic warriors, the Knights Templar, who in the early morning hours of Friday, October 13th, 1307, were subject to mass arrests by the French crown for accounts of heresy, devil worship, spitting on the cross, fraud, and financial corruption. Coincidentally, or perhaps intentionally, the mystique surrounding the Knights added the fuel to the idea that Friday the 13th is a malevolent day, with conspiracy theorists suggesting the order were more than just devout Christians established to help vulnerable pilgrims, but instead were the keepers of secret knowledge, or even the Holy Grail itself. Whilst this makes for a thrilling tale, as Dan Brown so brilliantly and profitably discovered, there is little evidence to suggest there is any truth to it. So where else can we turn to uncover the significance of Friday the 13th? Interestingly, in his book on the number 13, Nathaniel Lockenmeyer argues that before the 20th century, 13 had been an unlucky number, and Friday an unlucky day. But Friday the 13th wasn't necessarily a concept. There was indeed a book published in 1907 titled Friday the 13th, but this was written as an attack on the stock market of all things, not exactly the most mystical of topics. So the truth of the matter remains unclear. When looking at both Friday and the number 13, there is, with varying degrees of certainty, a clearer picture as to why bad luck may be attributed to either of them. However, the special significance placed on the combination of the two seems less clear. It is perhaps more of a reflection of modern superstition and fantasy, as opposed to something that has been embedded in the mindsets of ancient cultures and spiritualities, with it seeming only natural that with Friday and the number 13 being deemed unlucky, that people would eventually combine the two. So if someone you know is feeling uneasy about the next Friday the 13th, you can put their heart to rest by showing them this video. Thank you for joining us at Canned History. If you enjoyed the video and would like to see more, then like, comment and subscribe.